Greetings and welcome back to Association Matters Europe Insight series on this official PCAAE podcast for conversation on governance, leadership, and impact in the association sector. When associations thrive, societies rise. So we are your hosts. I'm Bobby.
And I'm Emily. And in this episode, we explore leadership in a multicultural association environment. European associations often operate across different languages, cultures, and national contexts. This requires leaders who can build consensus, foster collaboration, and engage diverse stakeholders. What leadership competencies matter most? How do leaders navigate cultural differences, and how do they ensure continuity? Let's learn all about this from a European Association leader.
So our featured guest is Stylianos Filopoulos, who is fondly called Stelios. He is the founder and managing director of Association by Design and a volunteer leader of the European Society of Association Executives and currently co-chairs the Strategy Community of Practice.
Aside from what Bobby has mentioned, Stelios is an International Association of Facilitators certified professional facilitator. He has a multidisciplinary academic background and more than 15 years of leadership experience in international associations, serving as both Secretary General and Board Director. He has led the non-profit international association Wine in Moderation, bringing together the wine sector and helping drive a global social responsibility movement. He has also served as director of the Greek Wine Federation, executive secretary of the European Aquacultural Advisory Council, and acting secretary general of CEIR Taps and Valves Europe. His practical approach combines proven facilitation methods, governance expertise, and hands-on experience to deliver sustainable real-world outcomes.
So, hi, Stelios. It's been a while since we last met, at least virtually, and thank you for being here. We're delighted that you joined us. So, let's start our conversation. Our first question is, what leadership competencies do you think are most important in multicultural European association environment? Of course, you can contextualize it based on the diversity that Europe has.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Emily. I'm delighted to be here with you today. Indeed, with all this experience in European Association, working for trade and professional society, it was apparent to me that there's no single European association model. And the European Association, as every association, when it comes to international, it comes in all types and sizes. A trade association with 20 members and a small secretariat, it's a very different from a medical society with thousands of members and volunteers, high experts, scientists. Therefore, when we are looking on these leadership competencies that you are referring on, how a manager can thrive in this environment, we can see very different needs depending on the mission, the governance, the structure, and the stakeholder environment. So in trade association, leaders often need to be the experts. They are the spokesperson. They are talking with authorities. Their main activity is advocacy. So they need to be they know very well the topic that the sector that they are managing. When it comes to professional societies, they cannot reach the level of their members as an expert. It is impossible, or not. A doctor cannot be a manager, and a manager cannot be a doctor. So what I want to say is that there it is more the strategic thinking, how you engage in the community and help the association grow. So this is very important to understand the differences. But one thing that I think that run across all different types and sizes is in multicultural leadership is the ability to create space. And what I mean with creating space, you need to allow the spaces for all different expressions to come out and find the way the members to be heard. So if, especially for a leader, in European environment, where you have Nordic countries, Mediterranean countries, Central Europe, East Europe. If you identify yourself as very solely with you're bringing very highly your cultural norms, then you will alienate the others and you will be identified only with these characteristics. So it is very important to avoid magnifying the stereotypes. And Brussels, it's a fascinating example of this dynamic because it is a melting pot. Everybody comes there, they come from different countries, but when they come there, they take the Brussels culture. And this is lovely. I think that this is the very interesting thing that happen and make Brussels-based association so strong. And to this extent, I think that modern association leadership is not command and control. It's not a hierarchical. You need to manage without authority. So it is more about creating alignment, ownership, and meaningful participation. So becoming more or less like a facilitator. And this is, for me at least, why I so much engage in this part of the strategic facilitation and become also certified professional facilitator by IAF. Because if you design well these interactions, then the things happen. It is not that we don't know how to do the thing, it's that there is not always a shared understanding or the ownership of the objective. So alignment without erasing the diversity.
I really love that. Alignment without erasing the diversity. It's so inclusive, it's so connected between all the cultures. I can only imagine the benefits that can bring within the associations. Our next question is, how do leaders manage cultural diversity and foster engagement across different cultures and languages within European associations? Maybe you've got a story you can share with us.
Yes, Europe is all about consensus. I mean, also in the political environment, European Commission, European Union, it's a very interesting example of how consensus is important. And it's a strength. I understand sometimes take the time, but sometimes we are too focused in pleasing everybody. And I often joke and say that consensus is like a tasteless soup. Everything gets diluted, safe, and generic. There's not the spice,
I love
that
that.
you need to have there to make a difference. So consensus is strength, but also a tasteless soup. But coming back to this element of the cultural diversity and the element of consensus, and what you were mentioning also before about inclusivity, I think that the objective is not to please everyone. The objective is just to everybody to still recognize themselves in the organization, feel comfortable supporting it. So again, what we mentioned before, this alignment without raising diversity, they can see themselves there. They can see that they can feel that they are heard and they take something, but they also allow the space for the others to take what they need. But in order for this to happen, extremely important is trust. And the trust is, I think, the currency of engagement. And a good leader establish this trust. They need to feel that their perspective matters, that they will not be left behind, that they're not excluded from the organization. And when they are respected, I think that people engage more naturally. Engagement, though, it doesn't happen, by action or only by trust. You need to mobilize the community and to make sure that what you're saying to them is actually taken on and goes towards the direction of both the creates value for the members, but also for the organization. It's very important to understand a dimension, the dimension of time. We are all living in a world that there's no attention. We are extremely busy. We are competing. It's not the membership fees that we are competing between different associations. We are competing attention, energy, and participation. So if we make association a little bit more intentional on when and how they mobilize the communities, align somehow the rhythm of the association with the rhythm of the members, the timelines, I think that then members will feel comfortable that they know when they can participate and when there is a demand for them to offer something. And this is more easy for them to participate. So timing and planning, extremely important. And I think that the one other element, it is language. You mentioned it also in the question, how we engage with different languages. We all speak English. I mean, we have a podcast. I think you are the only one with the native Emily with the native English
Yeah.
language. So, but in all environments we speak English, and they are English, Greek English like mine. There are Filipino English. They are different kind of English. We carry also language. Language is it's not only a communication tool. It is also an identity, a way that we express our culture, how people relate to each other. So when we think about association and when we're doing campaigns or we're trying to develop something also national level, I think it's very important how we create a framework, we provide the key messages, but then we allow actions to take place into them, to be adapted into the realities of the members. So creating a freedom where people can take the ideas, take the guidelines of the association to implement it, but also with some boundaries, this framework that allow them to have both a guidance, but also that we control the quality and is not diluted through cultural aspects. So for me, going back to this element of framework, common direction, inclusivity, diversity, inclusivity is not only about gender, it's not about nationality or age. Everything encompasses this, but it is also something more. It's about creating the space for all different personalities, communication styles, perspectives to participate and to be heard. And this requires communication, better design of meetings, assembling, convening, and less passive participation, less authoritative voices just taking the loudspeakers, taking the floor. And again, that's why the idea of the facilitation, the values, the competencies that comes behind, it's a very interesting thing from moving people from passive listener to active contributor.
Well, you mentioned a lot of elements there, and I pick up like trust, authenticity, and creating space are really important for member engagement. So, Stelios, our third and final question is: How do you do? How do you think, from your perspective, do associations, the European associations, manage leadership succession?
Yes, it's a very interesting topic. This very, very critical, and I also think that is linked with what we mentioned before about size, type, structure of the association. Large professional societies have a bigger pool of members to bring to renew their leadership teams. Trade associations sometimes are smaller. They are the same people and they are just changing. Nonetheless, indeed, what I see in many European associations, they are becoming more intentional about this succession. The model that it is there, it is a limit of terms, but also this president-elect is something that it is helping the the new president to get some time to understand what's happening and create a consistency. I think it's very important to limit the mandates to about 4 6 years. So if it's a mandate of 2 years or 3 years, that's why I say 4 6. More, it risks concentrating too much influence and reducing renewal. We always mention about leadership succession in the level of the volunteers, but we hardly ever talk about the succession in the level of the executive, so the Secretary General or the CEO. And I think it's a very important element as well, because while I fully understand that it is the institutional memory, it creates professionalism, continuity, but if a person stay for too long, they become, the association, they become too much of an authority, and this alienates some members. So I think that also about 6 to 9 years, long enough to span 3 or max 4 presidencies, but short enough that they are still, renewal happen, and it is important. And I think that even though it's comfortable being a leader in quite many years and you get everything very easily, it's good for the professional to change.
Right.
I did this when I was after 9 years in association, and it feels very nice to have a new identity, a new thing to explore, be more creative. And I think this is very important. Yes, and finally, I think that while we are talking about succession, all this, very important is that both the board, president, secretary general, they're aligned around a common strategic plan. And this is very important because this actually creates a consistency. If the board, the executive secretary general has the capacity to plan and execute and assess the strategic plan, I think then it is a very important element. So when we are looking at succession, we need to understand whether the board, the president, or the executive leadership team is fit for purpose if they have the competencies.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for all your insights, Stelios. That was jam-packed. I've learned so much from today's session. To wrap up the podcast, we always end with 3 key takeaways. I am going to struggle to fit them into 3 today, but I will do my best. Number 1, I heard there is leadership in a multicultural association is not about commanding from the top as such. As you mentioned, the real skill is that facilitation, creating space where diverse cultures, communication styles, and perspectives can contribute meaningfully. Strong leaders build alignment without erasing that diversity, helping people feel heard, respected, and connected to a shared purpose. Number 2 is managing diversity in European associations is ultimately about building trust. Associations cannot try to please everyone all the time. We don't want that consensus tasteless soup that you mentioned. We want it a little bit spicy. Instead, successful leaders create shared values and goals while allowing members to express themselves in ways that fit into their own cultures and realities. They need to be able to see themselves. Engagement grows when people feel represented, respected, and actively involved. And number 3 is strong associations outlast personalities. That's probably a bit of a snapshot of what you mentioned, but I think we were talking about effective succession planning balances out continuity with renewal through leadership pipelines, term limits, and clear strategic direction. As you touched on, both volunteer leaders and executives play a role in sustaining momentum, but renewal terms remain essential to keeping associations adaptable, member-driven, and open to that fresh thinking. When governance and strategy are collectively owned, leadership transitions become less about the individual and more about delivering the organization's mission, impact, and I'm sure long-term resilience.
Excellent summation as always, Emily. And thank you again, Stelios, for gracing our podcasts and for sharing your insights. I would like also to thank the audience for joining us in Association Matters, where governance, leadership, and impact come together. We believe that when associations thrive, societies rise. The podcast is brought to you by the Philippine Council of Association and Association Executives, Members, AMS, and Pricing for Associations.
In our 3rd continuing episode of this series, we will explore how European associations are embedding sustainability and creating a lasting legacy. Subscribe to our podcast and visit the PCAAE website for updates and full episode notes. Until next time, thank you for joining us, Stelios.
Thank you.
Thank you.